I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. All right, what's up, world? Welcome back to another edition of I Mix What I Like at mixwhatilike.org, at I Mix What I Like for all your relevant social media. Again, I'm Jared Ball, happy to be your host. And for today's conversation, we're going to be talking with a good brother I've been fortunate to be in contact with and whose work I've been able to be kept in touch for a couple of years now, on and off radio and otherwise. The brother's name is Kwabena Sakidi Jijaga Rasuli, and he is currently working with the Clear the Airwaves Project, stopping wratchet radio. Welcome, brother, to the program. Thanks again for joining us.
Oh, thank you, brother, for having us, man. Good to hear from you.
So, well, let's start with the basics. We only have a few minutes, but in a few minutes that we do have, break down for us what is the Clear the Airwaves Project and why is it so important?
Clear the Airwaves Project is dealing with this ratchet, violent, vulgar, disrespectful music that's on radio stations that specifically target our children 24/7, 365 in radio stations that broadcast in containment areas where we struggle to survive the United States every day, all throughout the U.S.
Well, why is it? Well, yeah, keep going. Yeah, please go ahead.
And it's basically every time our children tune into a radio station that targets them, N-bombs are being dropped on them. Their mothers, their aunties, their big sisters are being called B's and H's. They're being told that they should be strippers, they should be on drugs, popping pills, drunk all the time, and they should be killing each other. And that's the bottom line of what this music is playing and saying to us and our children constantly. And it has to stop. They're not doing it to anybody else. And I just didn't kick it off. Let's cut right to the chase. iHeart, formerly on this Clear Channel, has 8 stations that they own the licenses for in the Chicago area. 8 stations. They have a station that they own the license for that's targeting young Europeans. It's called KISS. They get 1 sexual reference, and we get 25 on the station that they have that targets young Africans, WGCI, a 25-to-1 ratio. When it comes to violence, every time KISS gets 1 violent reference in their song, we get 50. Same company, same age group, but only difference is the color of the people who are the main targets of these stations. Totally unacceptable. And it correlates to the amount of violence, the amount of issues that we are having in Chicago. For instance, in 2013, where 420-something people were murdered in Chicago, only 8 of them European, only 8. So that correlates to 98% pretty much.
So, a lot of people, when they hear this, unfortunately, the initial responses include a variety of the following. It's just music. It's just entertainment. It doesn't have the kind of impact that you're imputing to it. Many of us don't listen to the radio anymore. So why is what's played on the radio important? I get my music from YouTube and Pandora and iTunes. So why should we be concerned about terrestrial over-the-air radio anymore? This is what we want. They give us what we want. And if we wanted and were willing to pay for and support a different kind of art, we wouldn't get the versions that you're describing so heavily rotated and pushed to us. How do you respond to that variety of critiques of your criticism?
First thing is like what we want. I mean, they're reporting that I think the Tribe Called Quest album is like the #1 album. It's not getting any play on commercial radio. Kendrick Lamar's album sold like crazy when it first came out, but it's not getting any play on commercial radio. They program what they want you to hear. They give you like what do we call it, spins a day, 15, 20 spins a day, or 2 or 3 ratchet radio stations in our communities. So when we hear that constantly, we start thinking that this is what should be played. They condition us for this crap. And so the thing about turning the radio off, the reason why a lot of this is been allowed to happen because a lot of adults have turned their radio off, and we're not listening to what our children are listening to. Of course, more people are listening to other ways to get music now, and they're getting it in other ways. But still, it should not be on the free terrestrial radio. It's free commercial, but not commercial free, but commercial radio that you don't have to pay for. It should not be on there. That's the bottom line. I don't care how many people are listening to it. And we still know a lot of people are. In dealing with Bob Law, who works with us on this Clear the Airwaves Project, part of the National Black Leadership Alliance, he points out that a lot of the advertisers are getting away from advertising on these internet shows and radios, and they're still putting their advertising dollars into these terrestrial radio stations. And we hear it because we monitor these stations, and we hear when companies like McDonald's finance this crap on these radio stations throughout the U.S. There'll be a song on about a chopper decapitating someone and blowing their face off, followed by a McDonald's commercial. And we note that several years ago when Rush Limbaugh disrespected Sandra Fluke, called all sorts of sluts, he lost 13 sponsors in a matter of days. Well, they disrespect our women 24/7, 365, and we struggle. We struggle to get McDonald's or any of these corporations to pull their commercials. Why? Why?
When you say the they, how do you answer the question of, well, who are these they? I mean, is it, why isn't it the artist that is responsible for his or her art, and his or her art being produced or published or promoted or put in heavy rotation on these radio stations?
Well, when we think about the artists and who they pub up and play, I think about like Chief Keef, who was internet famous, and then he got a multi-million-dollar contract by Jimmy IOV to push that poison throughout the country. Same thing with Bobby S.H. Murder, or they call him Bobby Smurder. L.A. Reid, who knows good music from the deal, along with Babyface and that group from back in the 80s, he gives him a multi-million-dollar for Bobby Smurder to have a song pushed to the nation called Hot, N-I-G-G-A, or E-R, however you want to spell it. But that song was basically, both those songs were basically about killing people. That was a basic thing. Bobby, Chief Keef, If I Don't Like You, Bang, Bang, Bang. Bobby Smurder, Hot, N-I-G-G-G, Hot, N-I-G-G-A, was about killing people. One of the first lines of the song talks about he shoots the end, he twirls around, and falls out. Same thing that policeman did for Laquan McDonald when he shot him on that video. He twirls around and falls out. So the artists, like when Bobby Smurder goes to jail, they'll put somebody in there to replace him. Like when a young brother out of Montgomery, Alabama was shot and killed, who did that song with T.I. and Juicy J, If I Find Out, when he gets killed, they'll find somebody to replace him. So we look at the artists, and yeah, they're responsible for what they're doing, but it's the major corporations, and it's the Crawford Broadcasting. Crawford Broadcasting is a radio conglomerate that has mostly Christian talk and conservative talk throughout the country. But when it comes to Chicago, they give us Power 92.3, where they talk all right about Christian stuff with songs like Amen from Meek Mill or Preach from Young Dolph, where they talk about shooting and killing people. Where they talk about she wants to F, I tell her to get on top and roller coaster. Amen. This is the type of music we get from those stations in areas where African people live and struggle. Killer music, death music.
Well, just one thing, if I could share that just for our listeners, because I know that you're aware of this, but one thing that I have done and have learned to do over the years is look at the spins list, the media base, for instance, the database that shows what songs are being played at what rates on radio stations around the country. And as you were talking, I looked up, forgive me, you correct me on the pronunciation here. The number one song being played this past week is called Black Beatles. That's Ray Schmurd.
Ray Schmurder.
Ray Schmurder. All right.
Ray Schmurder, something like that, yeah.
Something like that. So that song, I don't know any of the content, but what I can say was played 4,121 times just this past week alone, reaching an estimated audience of 26.9 million across the country in just this past week. And then looking it up, he comes out on Interscope Records, which is a subsidiary of Universal Music Group, which is the largest music label in the world, which is itself a subsidiary of Vivendi, which is an international conglomerate. And the last time I checked, and admittedly this is just a couple of years ago, Vivendi, with holdings in all kinds of different business ventures around the world, television, video hosting, video games, so much more that they're into. The Universal Music Group, the largest music company in the world, only represented about 14% of their annual revenue. Now, that's not insignificant, but it's certainly not the dominant portion of their entire holdings or empire. So the point I'm just getting at is that for something that is promoted to our communities, as you're describing, it is promoted in a process that allows for the elite companies to determine who gets on the air, and we can talk about payola in just a minute if you want to add to that momentarily. But that the largest music companies that are responsible for this heavy rotation on our radio stations and elsewhere are really just small portions of even larger entities that are international in scope. So the manipulation of our communities, or the attempted manipulation of our communities, is really just a small part of their overall political and financial goals and aspirations, but has a tremendous negative impact, as you're describing. So I'll stop there and let you conclude with any response or cleaning up of what I've just said, and then any follow-up steps that you would like our listeners and viewers to take after they see and hear this discussion.
Well, Edgar Brockman Jr., Vivendi, Universal, all of that, alcoholism, hard liquor, Seagrams, it's all connected to what they promote and pushed out to the masses, and with the spins that they make sure that groups like the group that made Black Beatles gets all this play and it gets mainstream. It's all part of that connection, that humanicidal connection, as Dr. Herner Adams talks about. That's also part of seems like a fratricidal plan for our people. That people talk about it, know about, but what we gonna do about it? That's the question. What we gonna do about it? Just sit back and just kick it and just let it happen? Like D.L. Euclid said when we asked him about this, he said, well, that horse is out the barn. Yeah, it's out the barn, all right. But we're going to let it stay out the barn, continue to infest and infect and kill the mindset of the masses of our people? No. So that's why the Clear the Airwaves Project, along with Rage Against the Wratchet, What Are Rhymes, Do Better Now, the National Black Leadership Alliance, the Committee to Eliminate Media Offensive to African People, better known as CMOTAP, and other organizations and groups around the country are working together to get this crap off the radio, to do something about this. The Federal Communications Commission has regulations already in place, say that you cannot play indecent or profane content between the hours of 6 and 10. And you can never play obscene content. And they violate all that constantly, but we got to put them in check on that. So what we're doing now also, our brother Jared, is we're going after the sponsors. McDonald's is a big fish. They like the major sponsor of most of these radio stations that play this poison on our people, because, they feed them poison too. So we got a campaign where we're sending out letters to the CEO on December 5th. We're going to get at least 1,000, or hopefully more than that. These are like snail mail letters going out to them. We got electronic stuff happening too, but we want to make sure they get them physically in their headquarters. These letters are people pledging not to support, not to shop at McDonald's, not to buy any of that food because of what they've been doing on this media. We're asking people to call stations, write to stations, work with organizations like we just mentioned, and put economic sanctions on these companies. But plus, listen to what your children are listening to. Check out what they got on their headphones, or even, because a lot of stuff they claim the radio, like so-called edits it, weak edits, but the children know what's going on. But most of the stuff they're listening to now is unedited, and it's horrible what they're teaching us. And so, yeah, brother, this is a very important issue. So if you're part of NCOBRA, if you're part of Black Lives Matter, if you're part of any organization working for the betterment of our community and of our people, this is an issue that you have to spend at least some time on it, because it is all related. Music is culture. Culture is defined as a people's way of life. And if constantly our children are being told in every song, not just once, but multiple times, that they ends, that our women folk are B's and H's, that's violence. That's straight up violence, because we can't deal with that, bro. We got to make some changes with this music. I never thought our music would have got like this.
So how do people get in touch with you to learn more about your work and join this campaign?
Clear the Airwaves, as in ocean waves. Clear the Airwaves Project on Facebook is the best way to get a hold of us. Also, you can email us at clearairwaves@gmail.com. Our goal is to get this crap off by the end of 2016. Only 5 weeks left. We still feel we can do it. If there's any other race, any other people, if they're making these songs about dogs, it would not be on the air. It would be outraged.
Well, Brother Kwabena, thanks again for enlightening us and joining us, and we will keep in touch with you and continue to follow your work and encourage people to join and support that effort and create others like it. So thanks again for joining us, my man.
Appreciate you, my brother.
To Brother Kwabena and all those checking this out, as Fred Hampton used to say, to you we say peace if you're willing to fight for it. Again, for I Mix What I Like, I'm Jared Ball. Catch you in the world when everybody. Peace. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.